On Tomorrow's World Today, we explore the cutting-edge advances that are shaping 4 different worlds. The world of inspiration, where the wonders of the natural world amaze and inspire us. The world of creation, where ideas come to life from traditional arts. The world of innovation, where ideas and inventions move us all forward. The world of production, where innovations are mass-produced to improve our lives. From Inventionland World Headquarters, here's your host, George Davison.
The health challenges created by inflammation, it's been around a long time. In fact, it was first documented in the 1st century by Alois Celsus in his work called the Medicina. And he described it as 4 cardinal signs: redness, swelling, heat, and pain. Inflammation is a silent threat, and it affects millions of people daily. And when it flares up, they experience excruciating pain. And if it becomes chronic, it can contribute to serious conditions like heart disease and diabetes, asthma, arthritis, and even cancer. But hope is on the horizon. From cutting-edge gene therapies to advanced dietary interventions, science is fighting back, and in a big way. Every day, innovation labs are filled with technologists who are unveiling new ways to tame inflammation, and in the process, they're transforming lives. And right now, a visionary doctor is changing tomorrow's world with a breakthrough approach that could redefine how we treat this global epidemic. So I'm gonna send Greg to Long Island, New York, to meet some pioneers who I've heard are shaping a better and healthier future for all of us.
At Tomorrow's World Today, we uncover the innovations that are shaping a brighter future. I'm at Northwell Health outside of New York City to explore the groundbreaking world of bioelectronic medicine, and specifically vagus nerve stimulation. I'm going to meet with Dr. Kevin J. Tracy, President and CEO at Feinstein Institutes and a founding father of bioelectronic medicine. We're going to look at this revolutionary science that is transforming healthcare and changing lives today and in tomorrow's world. Hi, Doctor.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here. I'm really excited to learn about what you're doing here because a lot of it is so amazing. But I would like to start at the beginning. Tell me about Northwell Health. From what I understand, you're one of the largest healthcare providers in New York State.
That's right. Here at Northwell Health, we have more than 100,000 employees. We see some 2.5 million patients a year or more across our 25 plus hospitals in the tri-state area. It's a major employer and a major provider of care for all these people. In addition, we are also the home at Northwell to the Feinstein Institutes, which is our research base, and that's comprised of some 1,000 full-time employees, 100 principal investigators, 100 laboratory leaders, and 6 institutes, including the Institute for Bioelectronic Medicine. One of the newest additions to this enterprise is called the Center for Bioelectronic Medicine, where we are today. And this is the place where patients can come to meet their providers in this new field of medicine that we can talk about. And it's a place where researchers can come to push this field further and further and forward.
Excellent. Well, that is really what we're here to learn about. So show me the rest of the facility.
Come this way.
Doctor, you're trained to be a neurosurgeon, but what led you down the path of looking at inflammation as the root of so many different diseases?
40 years ago, I was training to be a neurosurgeon in New York when I cared for a patient named Janice. Janice was the victim of a household accident. She was 11 months old and she died in my arms of overwhelming inflammation, a condition we call septic shock. It was horrible. It was tragic. It was unforgettable. For weeks, I had nightmares. Now, up until that point of my career training, I had committed myself to a path of combining neurosurgery and research, but I had not picked a field of interest. After Janice died, I decided to spend my career studying inflammation in the hopes that we could invent ways of treating or curing it.
You've dedicated your professional life to this and you've been down a very long road with it. What is it that's happening right now today that's getting you really excited?
My colleagues and I in the laboratory upstairs some years ago discovered the way that the brain can control the immune system to turn off inflammation. And it does this by sending signals down the vagus nerve from the brain to the body. And this is the most exciting thing that's happened to me in that whole 40 years.
Excellent. Well, I'd love to learn more about that.
Great, let's go up to the lab and see.
Doctor, give me a layman's definition of inflammation, and why does it exist in the body in the first place?
Inflammation is the body's normal response to injury or infection. The redness, the heat, the pain, and the swelling that you've experienced if you've ever sprained your ankle or wrist or had an infection in your skin. It's a sign that the body's immune system is activated to come in and clean out the infection and begin the healing process of the injured tissues.
Well, why do we hear so much then about fighting inflammation and why it's so damaging to the human body? Why are we hearing so much about that these days?
The key to that question is understanding that acute inflammation has to stop, and that's when it's beneficial. Over millions of years of evolution, the body has evolved control mechanisms like brakes in your car to stop inflammation. Today, we're living in an era where many patients are suffering because their inflammation is not stopped. It persists, it becomes chronic, and now it can directly contribute to damaging organs like your kidneys, your heart, and even your brain.
Well, I'd really like to learn more then about this connection between the vagus nerve and inflammation, and maybe even get a detailed look at the vagus nerve itself.
Vagus nerve is critical in stopping inflammation. Let's take a look in the lab.
I am continuing my discussion with Dr. Kevin Tracy at the Feinstein Institutes for Medical Research at Northwell Health. We're going to delve into the functions and mechanisms of the vagus nerve.
We could take a closer look at the vagus nerve on this model. So this is the vagus nerve traveling along with the carotid artery, and you can see it begins up in the brain at about the level of your ear, and it travels down the neck on both sides. You actually have two vagus nerves, like you have two thumbs.
Right.
And inside each of those vagus nerves is 100,000 fibers. So you can think of it as having 200,000 vagus nerve fibers. Here's an anatomic specimen of an actual vagus nerve. And you can see it's traveling, the brain would be up here and the body, the organs would be down here. What you're not seeing are all the branches that have been removed from this specimen that go to the organs to control their function and keep you healthy.
So it's sending information back and forth to, say, your spleen, which you never think about how your spleen operates during the day. It just does.
Exactly right. And those signals are reflexively controlled, so you don't have to think about how your organs are functioning.
Now, how are you able to look at the vagus nerve itself, see all those branches coming off, and understand where they're going to?
Using modern microscopy and modern histology techniques, you can identify each of those fibers and follow their route and path. In fact, that work is happening right here in this lab, over here.
Let's go look.
This is Stavros Zanos.
Stavros, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Stavros, give me a demonstration of how you would look at all of the thousands of nerves within a vagus nerve.
Well, we take one of the vagus nerve samples that you've seen and subject it into a series of very detailed imaging techniques that allows us to produce images like this. This is a micro computed tomography image where you can see individual fascicles inside the vagus nerve with different colors. And if we take a cross-section through a level of this nerve, you see what the fibers actually look like at a very microscopic level. If I zoom in, you will see that these individual shapes are actual single fibers that come in different colors, mediating different functions while they're connecting the visceral organs to the brain.
Excellent. Well, Stavros, thank you very much. Doctor, what I'd really like to find out about now is this new device and how it's stimulating those thousands of fibers.
Great. Let me show you that over here. Stavros, thank you.
Well, doctor, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this. Explain to me how the device actually works.
So this is the device. It's about the size of a multivitamin. It has a computer chip, an ASIC. It has leads, which sit on the vagus nerve to send electric signals into the vagus nerve. It has a battery, and it has an antenna to communicate with the doctor's tablet. A neurosurgeon implants this device on the vagus nerve at about the level of your Adam's apple. And for 1 minute a day, it activates the brakes on the inflammatory response.
Well, how do you know that this device is going to stimulate the nerves that are causing inflammation and not the others in the vagus nerve?
For the past 25 years, we've been studying that question here in the lab and in other labs around the world. And what we've learned are that the fibers that turn off inflammation are a small number of fibers of those 100,000, and they're exquisitely sensitive to electric current. So a small amount of electric current puts the brakes on inflammation without sending lots of signals to the other organs.
So that'll cut down on the amount of side effects from the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I'm about to meet up with Dawn. She's one of the patients in one of the clinical trials.
Oh, that's terrific. She has an amazing story. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait to meet her. Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Greg. Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you, too. Have a seat.
Sure, thank you.
So I see you brought your collar with you. I can't wait to ask you a couple of questions about that, but you walked over here as if nothing was wrong. Even just a few years ago, that was not the case.
This is true.
RA came to you as an adult. Tell me about that.
Well, about 15 years ago, I went to sleep one night, a regular night, and I woke up the next morning feeling like I had been hit by a car. I was in terrible pain. I couldn't raise my arms. I was very stiff. I knew something was very wrong.
I am meeting with patient Dawn Steiner, a speech pathologist, to continue our discussion about her participation in a clinical trial aimed at targeting rheumatoid arthritis. So you went through a lot of different processes before you got to the point of this clinical trial on a lot of different medications that of varying effectiveness. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so for about 10 years, I was on biologic after biologic. You've seen those commercials on TV. The problem with biologics is that they take a very long time to work, if they work, and they have terrible side effects.
So you came across this clinical trial and got to be involved in it. Tell me how that all came about.
Well, I was active on some RA pages on social media, and I first read about it there. And then I saw a sign in my rheumatologist's office, and I spoke to Dr. Gruber and Dr. Vong, and they felt that I might be a good candidate for this trial. The biologic that I was on was failing, so I decided to enter the trial. Had my implant placed about 2 years ago, and since it's been working, my life has changed completely.
All right, well, so you brought your collar. Let's talk a little bit about that. Walk me through the mechanical process of actually using the device.
Okay, so I have this small implant placed on my vagus nerve. You can't even see it. I've got this charging collar. Once a week, I put it on like this. Makes that cute little noise. And I wear this for half an hour. That's how long it takes to charge the implant that's in my neck. And then every day, the implant vibrates for 1 minute. Just 1 minute, that's it.
And that vibration on your vagus nerve for 1 minute a day was enough to virtually reverse the effects of your RA.
Yes, my pain, my stiffness, my swelling, my fatigue are almost all gone.
And now your students get you back at 100%.
Yes, my students get me 100%, my family gets me 100%, and I just couldn't be any more grateful that I found this trial. It has changed my life.
Thank you, Dawn.
Sure.
Doctor, you are absolutely right. Dawn's story is really amazing, and her vagus nerve stimulator seems to have really helped with her rheumatoid arthritis. So what are some of the other conditions that you might see this technology being applied to?
Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease, and we've already seen successful clinical trials, small but successful clinical trials for other autoimmune conditions, including inflammatory bowel disease and lupus. And from laboratory results, we now have pretty good data suggesting that it's time to do clinical trials for multiple sclerosis. So I fully expect that these conditions are going to be the target of future clinical trials and potentially someday FDA approval as a therapy.
So I guess one of the important things for folks to realize is that this is not a wholly new technology or technique. It's actually been around for quite a while.
That's exactly right. The idea of using vagus nerve stimulation to treat conditions goes back for many decades. In fact, in the United States and in Europe, the FDAs have approved the use of vagus nerve stimulation to treat epilepsy and to treat depression, in both cases when these conditions are not responding to drugs.
Well, that seems a little bit more near term, which is great. But where do you see this going as we move down the road?
Well, most recently, the FDA approved vagus nerve stimulation as a therapeutic adjunct to treat people who are paralyzed after a stroke, if the paralysis affects their arms. Looking forward, there's a lot of new evidence coming out of laboratory and clinical studies that chronic inflammation is an extremely important contributor to conditions such as heart disease and stroke, cancer, metabolic syndrome, obesity, diabetes, even Alzheimer's and Parkinson's diseases. So the question now that's being addressed is, can we use vagus nerve stimulation to quiet down, to dampen, to treat chronic inflammation, and perhaps change the trajectory of some of these other conditions? And that's really exciting to me as a scientist.
Wow, well, it seems as though the future of bioelectronic medicine is really wide-ranging, and I know that George is going to love hearing all about it when you go to Pittsburgh.
I look forward to talking to him about it.
Dr. Tracy, welcome to Invention Land.
Thank you, George. It's great to see you.
You know, I got some photographs from Greg, and he was telling me all this great stuff. And I saw an image that really captured my imagination, and it was this one. And it looked like it could be so many things. Could you explain what I'm looking at here?
You're looking at the cross-section of a vagus nerve, a human vagus nerve, from a cadaver. Now, we say the vagus nerve, but what's so interesting about this picture is you actually have two vagus nerves, like two thumbs, one on each side, and inside of each of those is 100,000 fibers.
Wow, 100. Wait, so in other words, all those little dots that I see inside of that that's a fiber?
An individual vagus nerve fiber. The key to those fibers is they start in the brain and run down back and forth between your organs and your brain, and they carry the information that keeps you healthy all day long. They carry the reflex signals that keep your organs functioning in harmony and a nice balance all day long. So you don't have to do anything about it.
What a great invention that one is, huh? Hey, I got another picture I'd like you to talk with me about. So, because the skull that is in this image could be helpful in understanding what this new invention is going to do and where does it go.
We have a prototype to show you, George. This is a prototype of what we call a vagus nerve stimulator that's been implanted in patients with rheumatoid arthritis, a serious inflammatory condition. The reason that was implanted in those patients on the vagus nerve at about the level of the Adam's apple, so you see the carotid artery in red and the yellow or whitish vagus nerve traveling next to it. My colleagues and I discovered that signals in some of those fibers in those vagus nerves are like the brakes in your car that stop inflammation. So by implanting this computer chip, this vagus nerve stimulator into the left neck, these patients with rheumatoid arthritis, many of them are significantly better, and that has us all very excited about the future.
I would be really excited about that. I mean, from what I understand, we want inflammation in certain circumstances, but too much of it can lead to other problems, right?
Exactly right.
So by putting this in there, we can control the amount of inflammation that the body needs. That's a major discovery.
Well, what the discovery was that the signals in the vagus nerve, we call the inflammatory reflex, they set the inflammation at the right level. This vagus nerve stimulator helps activate those signals to the right level.
So this prototype has, what's in this thing?
This has an ASIC, a computer chip. It has a battery that's fully rechargeable. It has an antenna to talk to the doctor's tablet. And for 1 minute a day, it treats the inflammation in patients with rheumatoid arthritis.
Fabulous. If I was going to ask you to summarize for me, what you see in tomorrow's world in reference to this technology, what would it be?
Patients with inflammation will be treated with computer chips instead of drugs.
That's a big revolutionary movement then, because I don't know, that makes me reflect on back in the days when, you know, in the old days when you had whale oil, then you had kerosene, then Edison invented the light bulb. This is a transitional moment as well, it sounds like, from the chemical side of medicine potentially to this digital side.
We're at the beginning of a new era where many patients, not all to start, and maybe not all ever, but many patients will be treated with this revolutionary new approach. Right now, people are not thinking about using electrons to replace drugs, but it's happening fast.
Great work, Dr.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, you bet. And everybody, that's another edition of Tomorrow's World Today. We'll see you next time. So, would you like to check out the latest lab we just built?
You know I would.
Come on, let's go then. And it starts with this magic door. And remember, tomorrow's world is where inspiration and creation drive innovation in production.